down. And on behalf of the team, we'd like to thank you so much for coming to our second virtual conference. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce Kate Adams of Drift, who's also the VP of Marketing.
Hey, Vivian. Thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited to be here with you all to talk about accelerating revenue, how to move marketing, sales, and customer success from alignment to action. As Vivian so kindly introduced me, my name is Kate Adams. I'm the VP of Marketing and Sales Development here at Drift, and I could not be more excited to be with you all today. So let's talk about accelerating revenue. So not sure how many folks have seen it, but Twilio just recently released the COVID-19 Digital Engagement Report. And in that report, it was jam-packed with so many interesting stats. But one of the first ones that stuck out to me were that these 97% of companies, so they surveyed 2,500 enterprise companies, and 97% of those companies have reported that COVID-19 has sped up their digital transformation. It's an astounding stat. And that 97%, 68% of them actually said, yes, a great deal, which is incredible. But the question that comes to mind for me is, yeah, but how much did it speed it up? And the more astounding fact that we found, that they found in this report, was that what those actual folks actually said was that it was 6 years. That within the past 6 months, we have actually sped up digital transformation by 6 years. Further, I've actually seen stats from Forrester and from Gartner that have estimated this speed to be up to 10 years. It's absolutely amazing to see that much transformation in such a very short, confined period of time. But where does 6 years actually take us? What does 6 years of acceleration actually mean? So let me tell you exactly where it is. I want to welcome you all to what we are calling at Drift the new era, a new era. And that era is the revenue era. And so let me start by telling you about where we've been. The first era we saw it from a marketing sales perspective was really the brand era. And we like to think about this as like the Mad Men era, right? Everything was offline and marketing was really measured by the buzz that it created, how happy the CEO was, how happy the rest of the C-suite was, how happy the board was with everything that marketing was doing. How many publications did we get mentioned in? All of those really interesting facts, right? And it was all about eyeballs. And that's really what the brand era was about. And that was before the 2000s. And then in about 2010, we entered what we're calling the demand gen era. Another name for this that I'd like to call it is the acronym era. And what I mean by that is we hit a point in the brand era where it was like, great, all these things that marketing is doing are great, but how do we really measure it? How do we measure it? How do we know if marketing is meeting their goals or if they're behind, right? And so really that's where, as marketers and as sales folks, we move to acronymizing everything, if you can take that as a verb, right? And so that's where we created MQLs, SQLs, SQOs. Everything became an acronym. And so really, there's an old adage, show me how I'm measured and I'll show you how I behave. Well, if you're measured by acronyms, guess what? Your behavior is to generate acronyms. And so from here, marketers and sales folks, we moved into a digital assimilation. We got used to digital, but we measured everything by leads. And so we started really as marketers hawking things over the fence to our colleagues in sales. Just throwing things over the fence and saying like, hey, here's the MQLs. And from there, really what we saw was this incredible movement of finger pointing between marketing, sales, and CS. And it was, hey, where are the leads? And marketers would come back and say, the leads are right here. Look at this high number of MQLs. And sales would say, great, but nothing's converting. These leads are no good. Like, this is not good enough. You're not doing your job well enough, right? And so there was all this finger pointing and tension that was introduced into this process. And so this third era, the era that we've just entered, the era that 10 years or 6 years of acceleration of digital transformation has gotten us, is the revenue era. So welcome everybody to this new era. And in the revenue era, what we're positing here is that we move from digital assimilation to digital adoption, right? It's that 97% of enterprise companies that are saying that they've been really taken way, way beyond, right? Their digital transformation has been accelerated exponentially. And so rather than measuring just on acronyms, we start to measure marketing, sales, and customer success in a unified measure of lifetime value, right? So it's not just around how we're acquiring net new customers, but also how we are expanding those customers through retention and adoption and all of those customer phases as well, right? And so in this revenue era, we really begin to look at the full life cycle of the customer experience. But that brings us to one question, which is, who really wins in this revenue era, right? And so let's talk about some of the traits of the folks that we believe will really win in this era. So the first one is personalization and real-time messaging are the gold standard in customer experience. And so much of this gold standard has been driven by the B2C, the consumer side experiences that these folks are having in their lifetime today, right? And so here's a few stats, right? 71% of customers expect companies to interact with them in real time. That's from Salesforce. That's B2B data. They want real-time experiences. That is their expectation. We just recently developed and completed our survey, and will soon be releasing the 2020 edition of our State of Conversational Marketing. And in that report, we found that 46% of customers expect a response within 5 seconds or less when they're dealing with the chatbot. It's no longer are people comfortable conversing with the chatbot. Gone are those days. The real days that are here are that people are not only comfortable, but they expect immediate reactions, immediate responses, right? And we looked at this data all the way through very, very different channels as well. And what we found was that email, people expected a real-time experience via email. People expected a real-time experience via chat solutions. People expected a real-time experience when they wanted to make a phone call. They expect to be able to get a hold of the companies that they want to do business with at any time that works for them. Furthermore, Salesforce also found that 73% of customers expect brands to understand their needs and expectations. So this idea of that you can bring every single person through the same generic experience doesn't cut it anymore. You have to tailor that experience for the customers as they are coming through. They know the data that is available to you, and they not only expect you to have that data, they expect you to know how to use that data as well. So every single data point that you know about them, they expect that they can start a conversation with you and you can contextualize it for them. And then not only that, but 64% of customers expect tailored experience based on past interactions. So now you have the data about the company, the firmographic data, and the people that you're talking to. But not only that, people also understand that you have their data as it relates to everything that they've done. People are no longer oblivious to the fact that you know what they're consuming. And so based on all of those past interactions, they expect that you're able to provide them that contextualized experience for them. So they expect that that I, as Kate, have consumed this information. I've spoken to one of your sales reps at this event, and that I am coming to you from a company that is roughly about 400 or so people. And then based on that, they expect that you also know my role and what matters to people that are in my role to provide me even more contextualized experience. And businesses that are missing the mark on this customer experience and personalization, they're losing left and right. So Help Scout talked about 74% of people are switching brands if the buying process is too difficult. If you just make it too hard to buy from you, there is no doubt that somebody else in your industry is going to make it easier. Just the marketing technology landscape right now alone, just marketing technology has 8,000 different tools in it, 8,000 different options. So if you can't fulfill the need, somebody else will fulfill that need without a problem for them, and they will be there. There's a Maya Angelou quote that I love that speaks to this, I think, so well. And that quote is, people may or may not remember what you did, but they will always remember the way you made them feel. And the way that you made them feel is distilled so much in that customer experience, right? It's about how you made me feel as a buyer. Did you make me feel important? Did you make me feel like I mattered to you as a buyer? McKinsey talks about a 5 to 15% increase in revenue for companies that personalize their buying experience. That is a step change for businesses, 5 to 15% increase just through the use of personalization. And then up to 50% reduction in acquisition cost for companies that personalize their buying experience, also from McKinsey. So you want to talk about a step change? Imagine if you could go to your CEO today and say that I can reduce our acquisition cost, our cost to acquire each customer by 50%. Imagine having that conversation and then being able to say, I can do that and I need you to increase my marketing budget so that then I can acquire even more customers for us. That's a game changer, absolutely. And so all of those things really speak to exactly who's going to win. And my question to all of you today is to think about how are you doing as it relates to any of these scorecards? Are you personalizing that experience? Are you providing that experience that really shows the person on the other end that they matter to you? Really, how are you doing there? But let's talk about what won't cut it anymore. Let's talk about what's getting in your way from implementing something like this. It's the organizational silos that are killing your bottom line. And so let's talk about what I really mean by that. We talked a little bit about the demand gen era, right? And I alluded to this a little bit when I spoke to that. But marketing is getting measured on acronyms, right? And then sales is getting measured on acronyms. And we've all had this experience where we go through a marketing process with a company. We jump through the hoops for that company to show them that we're really interested. Maybe we fill out the form, we fill out a contact us form, and then what do? We wait. We wait for marketing to process that lead and hand it over to sales. And for sales to believe that that lead is worth their time to follow up on, right? And so there's a handoff there. There's a handoff from marketing to sales. And then you go through the sales process, right? And what happens in the sales process? Well, you go through a ton of discovery with that sales team member. You talk to them about your pain. You talk to them about the problem that you're trying to solve, and they convince you that they can help you solve that problem, right? And you go through this entire sales process, and some of those sales processes can be really long, sometimes well over a year. And so you build this relationship with the salesperson. You feel like you really have a strong relationship with this vendor, so you decide to go with them, and you sign on the dotted line, right? You sign that purchase order, and then from there, you get handed over to your customer success rep. And what happens when you get there? Guess what? We started the clock all over again. And to me, there's nothing more frustrating, right? I was convinced that I had built this strong relationship with this company, that this company and the stakeholders at this company knew me, knew my problems, and could help me solve that. But guess what? They didn't bother to read any of the information or capture any of the information that I told them through that sales process. And so now I have to start all over again with this customer success person to teach them about what matters to me and what I'm trying to get through. And so all of those processes are just inconsistent, completely unpredictable, right? The teams are guided by completely different goals. Marketing wants to get qualified leads. Sales wants to get quality conversations and opportunities. And they want those opportunities to close, right? But sometimes it's also a problem just in terms of data being stored in all different systems, right? For marketers, maybe it's in your marketing automation platform. For sales, maybe it's in your CRM, your Salesforce instance. For customer success, maybe you move from Salesforce into a Gain site of the world. And so maybe none of those systems are speaking to one another, but that data problem is your problem because it's leading to a poor customer experience. Right? And what we just learned before, which was 74% of those customers are going to go do business with somebody else because of a poor experience. That experience is costing you money today, a ton of money. And so when you look at the journeys, here's where that journey really hurts that customer experience, right? So marketing's got ads running, SEO techniques going to drive traffic to the website. And then when they get to your website, guess what? We're greeting them all with the same non-personalized experience, the same generic experience, no matter who they are. And there's nothing worse that I can think of as a marketer than knowing a huge enterprise has landed on my website and I couldn't provide them with an engaging enough experience to convince them that I could help them with their problem, to convince them that I could provide them with educational material that could help them solve that problem. And so we bring them into the same generic landing page and then we say, oh, great, Dell, I'm so glad you're on our website. Please fill out this form. And then from there, we send out a thank you email, and then we put them into the CRM, and they get routed. And meanwhile, what's that person doing? They're sitting at their desk, twiddling their thumb, moved on to the next meeting. More than likely, they won't even remember that they filled out that form for you when they call back, because maybe 24, 48, 72 hours have passed by the time we've actually enabled one of our team members to have a conversation, right? And the one common thread between marketing and sales and CS is that all of these folks want to have conversations. And in those conversations is where you build the relationships. It's the gold of what is driving your business forward. And so one of the big missteps, and this is a hot take, so feel free to call me out on social media if you agree, or if you more importantly, if you disagree, but I think alignment isn't enough. I think for so long we've been talking about sales and marketing alignment, sales and CS alignment. And what does alignment really mean? It means communication, right? It means communicating and creating awareness within the organizations. But really, it just isn't working. Like, we can communicate with one another all together, but if we haven't sewed those disparate data sources together, where does that really lead us? And what value does it really get to us? We need to move out of alignment and into actions. And so today's companies really need to deliver a streamlined omni-channel experience that meets the buyer on their terms and delivers lasting value. Lasting value. So again, go back to that Maya Angelou quote, delivering lasting value is all about making sure that you have made somebody feel like they are worth your time, that you understand who they are, and that you understand how you can help them solve their problems through any channel. Because I'll tell you right now, if social media has taught us anything over these last few years, nobody cares about your preferred communication channels. It's about their preferred communication channels. And if you aren't meeting them where they are, you're missing out on revenue. And so what is really moving from not just aligning, but to action mean? First, it means bringing your revenue teams together, right? So sales, marketing, sales, CS, right? Bringing them together to have a one unified place where all that data is incorporated. Number two, connecting your revenue teams to your buyer, keeping that buyer and the customer at the center of every single thing that you do. How do you connect them as quickly as humanly possible? And three, communicating with your buyers in real time. Don't make somebody sit around and wait. Facilitate that connection as fast as you possibly can. And one of the things that we have really forgotten about is how much the new business that you're creating today leads to the retention that you are creating for tomorrow, which leads to the upsell that you have tomorrow, which leads to more new business. Why? Because so much of your business, up to 70% of your new business today, is being generated out of referrals from your current customer base. It used to be in the olden days that people would rely just on the Gartners, the Forrester analyst opinions of the world about who they should do business with. But G2 Crowd, Capterra, Trust Radius has turned all of us into analysts, because we are now enabled to leave reviews on the tools that are helping us do our jobs and leave negative reviews for the tools that are not helping us do their jobs. And so no longer am I waiting on some analyst firm to have an opinion on the tools that I could use today. No, I can actually hear from Kate, the VP of marketing, about what she thinks of this tool, because she is in there each and every day and she's doing the same work that I need to do for my organization. But what does it really look like in practice? So within revenue acceleration, you've got your website with end-to-end customer experiences. And so really, it's joining conversational marketing and conversational sales together to provide that streamlined end-to-end experience. And underneath that, you need to have a conversational suite, right? And so that suite should contain chat, email, SMS. I'm telling you right now, some of you may be laughing at that, but I know that years from now, we will be doing business through SMS if you are not already. My team already is. They have phone numbers and text messages from our clients today, talking about the help that they need and going back and forth in that way. The third is video. Video is here to stay. There's nothing more important than being able to communicate, especially today. Everybody's on a webinar, everybody's in Zoom, and it's more difficult than ever to find that time on people's calendars to carve out. Video enables you to have a real, authentic experience with somebody and show your face, talk through it with them, and they can watch it on their terms when they're ready, when they have 15 minutes free. And then lastly, voice, right? And then within there, you're able to use artificial intelligence to create a more consistent experience across your chat and email channels, having a proprietary behavioral database so that you have the context for what somebody did before, and then that you're able to have those analytics and insights into how each of these channels are feeding through the sales process. And then under here, you have the underlying data, right? Where you have your marketing automation platform, your intent data, maybe your account-based marketing platform, your sales enablement tools, and your CRM. And this together makes up really that core revenue acceleration experience and platform that every organization needs. And so here, we're going to show you how we're using it with our tool, but regardless of what tools you choose, because you can put together this platform using a ton of tools or using an all-in-one suite. But either way, the core tenets of conversational marketing and sales is first to engage somebody. So here in this example, you can see, hey, Acme, I've identified you. I'm showing you that it matters to you. I'm creating an engaging experience. Are you trying to figure out the right chat for your site? Is hard, right? That's engaging, right? You're speaking to me. I'm on your landing page, but you're speaking to me. And then from there, we understand that person. So we're asking them qualified questions so that we can understand exactly the needs that they're making. And from there, based on what we understand, we're able to recommend the best solution for them. And then using conversational marketing and sales, and this is more important for this team than of this audience than any other audience there is, but how are you identifying that your team is working the right accounts, right? You have 3,300 visitors coming to your website maybe in an hour or in a day, depending on what your traffic looks like. How are you making sure that your team is prioritized on the right accounts, the accounts that are most engaged? And from there, how are you targeting those key accounts and engaging with them? How are you understanding which accounts are actually the most engaged and have more of the buying committees talking to you, right? Super, super important. Here's a quick story of a customer, Zenefits, on how they were able to use their revenue acceleration platform, which just so happens to be Drift. And really what the challenges they were trying to overcome here is they had massive marketing growth, but they couldn't keep up with the high volume of inbound interest that was coming in. And so really what that meant was they were providing a terrible experience, telling people that they didn't really matter to them, and they were way too delayed in getting back to them. And so through the use of our revenue acceleration platform, they were able to engage with all of the incoming leads 24/7, 365, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, right? Because they were able to use artificial intelligence to create the experience of their best SDRs, to have real-time engaging conversations with these people, no matter what time of day or what geography they were coming from. And their results were that they saw a 93% increase in prospect to win rate. They were able to shorten their buying cycle by 6 months to 12 days. They were able to increase their number of meetings that they booked, and they influenced $3.6 million in pipeline, which was 1,800 opportunities across the board. And through using that artificial intelligence platform, they provided a 44% increase in the accuracy of their responses. And so they were just able to see astounding results. From here, we'll move in really quickly into questions. So if you have any questions, please feel free to throw them in the chat. I've been keeping my eyeball on that as we've gone through. But really quick, we have this book, The State of B2B Buyers and Customer Experience, which hits so much on the data points that I talked about here. Here's where you can find that book. And lastly, if this notion of moving from alignment to revenue acceleration and action really resonated with you, we're about to publish on just 2 days from now the go-to-market playbook for revenue teams. We paired up with our friends at Clary to really talk about how alignment and action, marketing, sales, and customer success really accelerate revenue. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so Hamid, here's the link to that book for you. And you can find the files here that you can get to. Jennifer is asking, what are some key leading indicator metrics we should be looking at in sales, marketing, and CS to unify the lifetime value metric? There's so many, Jennifer, but some of the top ones that come to mind is how quickly are you able to get to the leads that you generate today? I would pose that if you're looking at anything outside of 30 minutes, it's way too long. You're making people wait way, way too long. In terms of being able to measure all the way from sales to CS, I would look at your onboarding. How long is it taking you to get from somebody to sign deal to live? How long is that taking you? And I think that's a key indicator of metrics. And then the last thing I would say is always measuring your expansion metrics. So of the new business that you've generated today, how are you expanding it? I think I was able to answer anybody's question, but again, you can find me on LinkedIn at Kate Adams, and you can find me on Twitter at KAdams24. Thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.